As I was sitting there listening to speeches, I looked around this wonderful room, and I know we'll have a chance to see some of the other rooms in this state-of-the-art Boys and Girls Club, number 2000 Boys and Girls Club. I thought to myself, I see all that steel, I see all that cinder block work and electrical work and air conditioning work, and it takes about this much stuff to make a jail. It's about what it would take. And that's what we've been doing too much of in recent years. We've been using this kind of material and treasure to build jails, to put our children in eventually. No other civilized nation in the world has as many people in jail as we have in jail. So we need more mentors. We need more places like this, where the community comes together and says to the young people of the community, and especially in this neighborhood here, we care about you. Because you see, what these young people are seeing, not just a nice place to play basketball or in the computer room to run a software program. They don't see steel and cinder blocks alone. What they see are people who care about them. What they see are people who love them. What they see are people who have expectations of them and about them and will not let them fail. We do not have anything more important to do than to protect youngsters like this and put them on the road to success. The choice is very simple. We either build our children or we build more jails. It's time to stop building jails and get back to what we know how to do as Americans, and that's to build our children.
Welcome to the Gilchrist experience. That's Colin Powell. I think that was year 2000. And now we're here in 2016, the fall of 16. You'll have a new Boys and Girls Club. And we have today the chairman of the board. Chairman of the board is here of the Boys and Girls Club, Chris Watler. Welcome, Chris.
Welcome.
Glad to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
See how excited we are about the new Boys and Girls Club going up.
Absolutely.
I have another roll in afterwards. And of course, Lord Dowdell, and made as usual, my man Graham Weatherspoon.
The black man.
Welcome to the show. Gentlemen, we've
Thank
got
you.
a lot of good things to talk about today. And talking about the kids, you know, as Colin Powell says, we got to build more Boys and Girls Club rather than jails, you know. The prison, the child to prison pipeline is up and running and booming like hell. We got more people incarcerated than any time in our history. Mm-hmm. And this is our pleasure to take youth and build them up and give them the self-esteem that they need in order to survive on this planet. And as you all know, this school that we're talking about, I actually went to the school. 1945.
They didn't tear it down?
45. I think most of you youngsters weren't alive already.
Because it should have been torn down.
45. I actually went, I lived on 147th Street in Amsterdam. I remember going there, they said I went to kindergarten at 4. So I started in September at 4 because I turned 5 that April. So they gave me a break and let me start off at 4. But I remember those, yeah, and we were going through I was telling you guys how I remember the shiny brick and then refurbish all this stuff. And it looks fabulous, looks fabulous. But I tell you, let me run this other roll in with Dominique showing, give us a little idea what the Boys and Girls Club is happening and the housing that's coming up. We've got affordable housing in Harlem. You ready for that? All right, let's run that other roll in with Dominique on it. I think it's number 3. Did I give you a preview on that one?
The rundown of what's happening. So today, PS 186, we're still in construction, but this week really marks a great occasion that a lot of the scaffolding that was covering the facade has now come down, and you see this beautiful structure that many people couldn't really see in the past, where they saw trees kind of growing out of the windows in the past. Now they see brand new facade, refurbished brick, new windows, a brand new cornice around the top, which is amazing. And then when you're to the entrance, we're right kind of here at this entrance of the Boys and Girls Club here, so it's going to be a sight to behold once it gets done. We're actually standing in the courtyard, and you know, we think we're about 6 months out to actually opening up the brand new Boys and Girls Club. We know that the housing will be open a little sooner.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the housing should be open in July, and so people should be taking occupancy on the upper floors, and our hope is that we'll be fully operational in the club this fall.
Okay.
The Boys and Girls Club entrance to the club itself is through the middle of these three doors. We're going to fill this ramp in like it was originally, put the original stairs back on. There'll be a gate, and the Boys and Girls Club will come through the gate and into here. The original administrative entrance to the school was at the end of that wing. That's the administrative entrance to the Boys and Girls Club. So there are two entrances. So the staff, Dominique and other people working here, would most likely go in that door into the administrative side, and all the kids and parents and other people using the club would come through this door here.
I ask is because certain parts of the area, when you have brownstones, there's a different income from the people on the other side. So when you do a medium income, I want to know how far down the street you look.
Yeah, it's a wider area. So you're picking up brownstones, and you know what? It is what it is.
But what about within the 5 boroughs? Because I know people that live in the Bronx.
They can apply.
They can apply.
She's not talking about who can apply. She's talking about
income.
What's the basis for the area needing income?
Right.
Anyone can apply.
Yeah.
You don't have to be a resident. There are preferences. We had a community board meeting recently, and there are preference categories. So they get housed first or selected first. There's a 5% mobility impaired, so people with 2% hearing and vision.
Okay.
And then 50% are residents from the community. So a big community portion. Wow. And then there's a municipal, 5% municipal employee.
How about senior citizen?
What's that?
Senior citizen.
No, there's no preference for seniors. No, they're just what's that?
Veterans. Yeah, veterans.
No. I mean, they can apply in any of those, but there's not a preference category, and there's not a senior or veteran category.
Hey, you got a good idea about the housing. Of course, you can go online, and I think the applications are still being taken till April.
Through the City of New York's lottery system,
Right.
Absolutely. And you heard Tom in the video talking about some of the preferences, and of course, a big weight is preference towards people who live in Community Board 9 and in the neighborhood, and that's important because the community has for many years been very interested in making this project happen. And has been a real partner with the club and our partners, Monadnock and Olympic Development, in getting this done. So
yeah, it's been a.
What's the median income for the affordable housing in this development? I know we had in Brooklyn, they were looking to do affordable housing, and the groups that were in East New York came up with figures of $75,000 in income to get in, and they called that affordable. But the people in East New York are only making about $40,000 a year. So a lot of those projects are being pushed to the side. What is the mean income
I'm very proud. I don't want to misspeak around the the income, but I invite people to go to the you can check our website.
Right.
PS 186 Living is also another website to see the specifics of it. But we get to 30,000.
Wow.
On some of the units. So we're in Harlem, and we recognize the importance of making sure that you cast that net as lower as possible. And there's a lot that goes into making a project like this work, and so we're very fortunate to have the city and the state and elected officials stepping up to help us to make this a reality. And so I'm proud of the fact that we will reach folks who are at a a lower scale.
Yeah, because the people that were there that struggled through the blight of Harlem.
Sure.
And survived it, those are the ones that should be allowed to remain in the community when nobody else was putting anything into Harlem.
And I do want to point out, because there's a myth that people in Harlem don't work and and make and make decent living.
We're not talking about the newcomers to Harlem.
Traditional Harlem has been a community where people in municipal government have lived, have grown up. You were talking earlier about some of our elected officials went to this school.
That's right.
There are solid families. There are two-income families. So we have a real diverse community of people, and we wanted the project to encompass that on the housing component. So I feel good about where we where we've gotten to, and I'm especially feeling really good about our new clubhouse. Yeah. Because that's going to allow us to serve young people in the community much better, expand the number of kids that we are able to serve. We currently serve about 500 young people a year, and this new clubhouse will allow us to really scale that up. Okay. In addition, the club is doing a lot of work in schools and with our partners in the community.
Manhattanville?
And Manhattanville, at a public housing development. So our philosophy is to take the club services to where the kids that need it the most are. But this will be our home base, and this will be a place where we will be doing, you've heard of STEM. There's also STEAM, where you're including the arts. In that, so the
STEAM,
yes, science, technology, engineering, arts, and math.
Okay.
And that, that is really about this new economy that we're in, where we have to help our young people move. The economy that we all grew up in is top down, central control, big, cumbersome. The economy that our kids in the club are growing up in is a platform economy. It's about collaboration, having knowledge and being able to deploy it to solve problems. It's a very different world, and it's rapid, it's fast. It's a very different world. So we want the club to really prepare young people for that world.
I think it'd be great for entrepreneurship. We were raised to get an education and get a job, but I was talking with a friend yesterday. His son, I think, is 14, and he's developing apps.
That's the route to go.
He's making around $1,000 a month.
Ooh, that's fabulous.
With the one app that he developed.
Yeah. Sure.
And I said, wait a minute, what do you wait a minute. He said, yes, his son is pretty much self-taught between school and home, but he developed an app that people are using, and he's marketed it to, I think, Microsoft.
Fantastic.
So at age 15, he's making $1,000 a month.
Yeah, that's right.
Just because he got into the technology. Yeah. And it's beyond, my own son he teaches the stuff in California. I can't tell you anything about what he's talking about when he talks to me. But it's great for our kids because for them to know that they can go into business for themselves. Yeah.
Well, it's funny that you mention that because Lord Dowdell is our IT man, and he's at National Action Network, and I attended his classes, and I still haven't gotten that.
They have it for you. I saw it the other day. It's shiny and glossy.
No, not that. I was talking about the programming part of it.
Okay.
What was it called?
Coding.
Coding. I didn't get to the coding class. That's purposely. That's why, because this is what we're talking about.
That's
building applications through coding. I mean, even old guys like me is
Yes.
ready, eager to learn and know what's out there. It's fascinating. And Lord Dowdell, give us an idea
Well, I mean,
what you do at NAN.
It's really what you just mentioned is a critical component of the economic development of our community.
That's right.
We have a lot of programs from STEM to Connect Ed, from bridging the digital divide, from hackathons or anything else that you want to talk about.
Hackathons.
But the problem that we're experiencing, and over the 25 years that I've looked into this field and worked with many municipalities and organizations, we're still not finding the support that the kids need in terms of the technology device. So as an example, the New York City school system, through an executive directive from the mayor, all kids now have to be computer science ready to graduate,
Right.
Okay, now the president has issued an executive order that for computer science for all kids, not just New York mayor took his responsibility serious, but now this is a directive for the entire country.
Okay.
So what's missing? So as we talk about all of the bells and whistles of technology, when kids go home that could be potential application developers and create, they don't have the technology in their home. They don't have a computer. So we have a choice. We can keep them in the the last century with pencil and piece of paper, or we can empower them with the technology that they need. So we have a technology issue as it relates to the lack of technology in our schools, in particular in the low-income communities. In the low-income communities is where we have, in terms of the school districts, about 80% of our digital divide. When you go into the home, it's a little bit better. That's about 40%.
Explain digital divide.
Yeah, the digital divide is a lack of a technology device to be able to connect you to the internet with high-speed broadband access, so that you'll be able to get on that highway and be able to download and engage in activity on the internet at a speed as opposed to having a very slow, snail-paced speed.
Our kids are worrying about paying rent and keeping food in their mouths rather than internet access.
Yeah, and what we find is that this problem is very pervasive in low-income communities.
Of course.
Because technology, if you go and try to buy a Surface Pro, it's about $798, right? So our kids are not going to have that, right? So a government talk about all of these great programs, STEM, STEAM, coding, and but the kids cannot tap it. So it's like the school teachers that have to turn out students for the 21st century to be able to meet the job market that you guys will be offering these kids if they are technically literate. Well, the problem is that there's going to be a big gap because the kids that are coming out of these schools in a low-income community, they don't have that technology in their home to continue that computer science. A classroom with a teacher with 30 students can't take time because it's 30 students, so they have to continue their education after school. So the computer science programs, as an example, are after-school programs. But when they go after school, they don't have internet connection in their home, they don't have a computer in their home. So here's what it looks like right now. So in New York, in Harlem, where the free Wi-Fi exists, or where there's a Starbucks or a McDonald's or a Burger King, you will find
42nd Street you get free Wi-Fi.
Right. You will find kids out next to a food chain or a retailer doing their homework outside because they don't have that internet connection in their home. And there is no way that our community will move, our population will move into the 21st century without having the technology support that's needed in the home. So my mission from the National Action Network is to form collaborative relationships to try to find partners who are interested in this issue of the digital divide, that recognize that our kids don't have this at home, and for us to do what we can working together to be able to get this technology in the home of these children. Now, there are programs available to support that, so I'll stop right there, but that's there are many programs.
And the purpose of having my chair person here of the Boys and Girls Club is to make this marriage, because that's what we really need.
Well,
we're going to Well, this is just being talked about now as we speak. So nothing's etched in stone and nothing's really been written or even spoken about. This is the first that Chris is really hearing about this. So it's all new to all of us, but I see a way that we can work together.
Well, I'll tell you this. Not only are we interested in anchoring institutions, whether it be hospitals, civic clubs, churches, Boys and Girls Club, or any other club for that matter, we're going into the schools, and we're speaking with principals. I just walked through 2 schools today, met with 2 principals. And
so this is anybody at home?
Yeah, we're saying to the schools, there are 42 schools, about 35 schools, 35 to 42 schools in the Harlem and District 5, right? And we're walking through and contacting those schools, and we're saying that what we want to do is to try to work with you and try to identify those children in your school that don't have internet connectivity in their home. And then the private sector organizations that I have brought together to work with us on this issue, we want to look at how we can help you. We want to look
so where's the money coming from?
The money will come from a couple of sources.
Otherwise, this is no charge to us.
No, there's no charge to the schools or to any organization.
Okay.
The money comes
This is
from
something free.
Private sector funding, grants, and also programs that are already.
But no cost to us.
But no cost to you. So, as an example, with the New York Smart School program, that's a $2 billion program.
Smart
New York Smart Schools program.
Smart Schools program.
That's with the board, the electronic board, and the.
No, the Smart School
program. Is this
program.
federal?
Pretty close.
This is federal.
No, this is state.
State. I'm sorry. Right.
November 2014, the state legislature passed the Bond Act, and it's called the Smart School Bond Act. That Bond Act was for $2 billion, and it was to bridge the digital divide. So it was an initiative from the governor's office.
Who knows about this?
we're trying to let people know it's not an easy job. I can tell you that. But the funding's already on the table. The New York City received $783 million out of that $2 billion that was raised by.
Say that again. How much?
New York City, 5 boroughs of New York City, through the mayor's office. I can't tell you that they have the money in the bank today, but they were supposed to receive $783 million.
$783 million.
$783 out of the $2 billion.
Out of the $2 billion.
Yeah, and that's not disputable. You can go on their website, or you can go on the state website. You'll see that.
So you have a way to tap into this money?
Well, here's the thing. The school districts are supposed to design a technology plan that bridges the digital divide.
Okay.
As part of that bridging the digital divide in the school systems that are inadequate or that are technology poor, that's what this funding is for. But in addition to the schools, there's funding for the local school district to also build out into the community. And so, the rationale that the legislatures have, the reason why they put that there, and it's there, by the way, and it's on their website. Anyone can read it.
Okay.
It's in plain language, and it says.
Which website is this?
This is the New York Smart Schools website.
Okay.
So if you wanted to look this information up, you would simply go to New York Smart Schools Guidelines.
Okay.
New York Smart Schools Guideline.
All right.
And it's all there, and it tells you exactly what the money is supposed to be spent for.
Okay.
So for community-based organizations like the Boys and Girls Club or some other kind of community-based organization,
Any
they
school
can
at home.
utilize that funding because there is legislative language, there's law, regulations that says that the school district is supposed to find these local community-based so that the kids, when they come out of school, they have some place to go.
Okay.
And so that's why computer science and all this is beginning to come together now. Our problem is trying to get the community aware that this kind of program exists, and then to be able to work within a collaborative process so that you're coming from a collaboration, perhaps that's that they would respect, so to speak, and to get this done. But the money is there, and it's been.
All right, give me an example of using the Boys and Girls Club as an example. Now, what could you do with us as an organization?
Well, it's not me. It's basically, I mean, I certainly know the program, and I was engaged in the language before it was actually voted upon.
Okay.
Prior to it. And by the way, it was placed on referendum. So this is not just the legislators, this is the voters of New York, the state of New York, that voted for this referendum. So that's why there's no issue with the from the legislature, because it was a referendum that was approved November 2004. So November 4th, 2004.
2004.
I'm sorry, 2014.
Yeah.
I'm 2014. If I said 2004, I want to correct that. 2014. So November 2014 is when the referendum, the voters voted. And now, if you go on that guideline website, you will see each school district, the allotment of money that they either have received or will receive. And New York City, when you look at that website that I just mentioned, there's $783 million for the 5 boroughs.
I want to get to, because I think what Lord's talking about is critical. You know, the kind of the availability of dollars.
Right.
You know,
That's what I was getting to.
but there's another side. You know, like we have to understand the challenge that we face in communities like Harlem. Many of our schools, our public housing developments, our roads, our streets, our infrastructure is simply not set up even to pipe in the systems, the bandwidth that you need. So there's an issue of making sure that the bandwidth is available, so that you don't have on one hand young people in some communities that have, you know, can do coding, can, you know, do graphic arts on their computer, and then other kids who are still struggling just to download a PDF file. Right. So you know, so there's that issue. You know, so the dollars are great, but the challenge may be even more than we think in terms of just being able to get that technology into programs. The other thing I think is important is to really think about what the delivery system looks like to help people learn how to use the technology in a more meaningful way. We were talking earlier about the fact that young people, they have a very thin engagement often with technology, right?
That's
Facebook, Snapchat, Twitter. When I ask my kids, what are you doing on your phone right now? I'm texting, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Snapchat. And I'm saying to myself, wow, for a kid who maybe is trying to solve a problem for school, maybe it's a young person who got out of a detention center and is thinking, I want a job. That phone that they have is an incredible tool. So we got to move our young people from thin engagement with technology to thicker engagement. And so what we need beyond equipment and the piping are actually teachers and mentors and people who are expert at instructing young people and helping them. I always say the greatest digital divide is often within homes, where in families you can have one kid that's really savvy with a computer because they got into a great school, maybe, through a lottery, and another kid whose school doesn't have all that stuff. And maybe a parent or an auntie or grandma that they're living with that knows nothing about this stuff. So we have big challenges beyond just, you know, can we get a computer in a kid's hand? It's also, can we get those kids to use it?
Well, here's what
in a meaningful way.
It's an excellent point. But here's what we know, based on scientific data. It's already approved. It's already approved by the federal government from not only the old education law, the federal No Child Left Behind, but also for Common Core. So all of the researchers have looked at some of the issues that we're talking about now. And
Explain Common Core for me.
The Common Core replaced No Child Left Behind. No Child Left Behind was a federal standard that all states had to meet as it related to educating our children.
That was Bush.
I'm sorry?
But that was under Bush.
That was under Bush. And under Common Core, it really just replaced the federal No Child Left Behind. So what we've learned from the federal government and the research from that they've done on this issue, from the FCC to the Department of Commerce, to the Department of Education, the Department of Labor, from HUD and everything else, they understand that you first have to lay the highway. You have to lay the technology. You can build a highway, but if nobody don't have any cars to get on it, that highway doesn't mean anything. So
how does this apply to Harlem not having the internet access?
I'm going to come to that. So the device, when you so the concept of the federal government, we don't have to prove anything. We know technology works.
Right.
We don't have to, so that, they have jumped that hurdle. They don't have to do any more research.
Right.
The research is there. They know technology work. In fact, in 1994, the Congress, in 1996, during the Telecommunication Act, they were talking about bridging the digital divide then, meaning getting technology into the hands of our students. Programmers and people like Microsoft and the rest of them, they will make sure that content and programs come to these kids. But they're not going, those content and programs are not going to be meaningful if these kids don't have the device. So you have to have a car first if you want to get down the highway, right? Can you drive now? Maybe you can't drive, but you know what? You're still going to need a car to get down the highway. So when you get that car, you learn how to drive, right? You get in the car, you learn how to drive. So we need the technology. The programs are already there. The problem in our community is that most of the families cannot afford the device. So if you look at some of the issues that you were talking about, which is so important and it's very real, the suburbs, if they were facing the same problem in which they did, they got the technology, they got the infrastructure. So what's wrong in our community? Our community, it's not that we don't know how to use it. Our kids can outplay anybody in any technology game that you can think of. I've done hackathons before. I've seen brilliant kids come together and create inventions. So that's not the issue.
Jusani?
The issue is that they don't have the technology. And that's what this government recognized when they did the Bond Act. They said, and it's not programs, and it's not whether or not the kids, but all of those things are critical. But what they focused on was getting the hardware in place.
But it's almost like moving from equality to equity, right?
Yes,
Equality is the infrastructure.
Yes.
Everyone should have it. It's a foundational tool for a market economy. The equity, though, is the investment in the human capital to make sure that young people know how to use it. Because that is missing. So the equality, I think you're absolutely right. We should just have this available, because whatever we're going to build in the future relies on that platform. But the equity are the programs, whether it's at Boys and Girls Clubs or schools or in public housing developments, that are going to really get those young people to say, look, I got Facebook, I got Snapchat, but I also know how to find a job with this thing.
That's exactly
I also know how to make sure I access health services with this thing. I have a whole range. So it's the equity piece that I'm also particularly interested in. So that our kids get the same opportunities that they did, but we need to do more on that level.
You're absolutely
with 1 million students in the city school system, there are those that have their laptops already.
There are.
There are schools that have provided them through Microsoft and other. So with $780 some odd million,
783.
783.
all right, theoretically, $783 per capita is enough to buy a laptop. It's enough to buy a router for that laptop. So that part of the puzzle, that piece of the puzzle, can be immediately handled to make sure that every child in the city of New York has a laptop and a router for their internet. Now, if their bandwidth is the problem, because you take your laptop to school, you bring it home. You can go to the Boys and Girls Club with it. You can go to NAN with it. You go wherever. And they could program those laptops so that they can use them for certain things and not for other things.
That's true. Sure can.
All right? Not doing pornography. You're
You got
not
some
doing,
serious filter. You put some-
because the tool is for education. It's not for the idiocy of Facebook and all that other stuff. Social media also, and kids need to know, it can ruin your chances of succeeding. Because employers look at your Facebook page. They look and see what you're involved in, and you will automatically be eliminated from the pool.
A lot of them do
because of what you're posting. So we need to move away from that and understand what these instruments are for. They're not for social media. It's for education, it's for enhancement. So once that money could get the equipment that a child needs, then, as you said, public housing. Bringing that infrastructure into public housing, into a person who has a private home, they get their router, they can get going. The effects of even the structure of the buildings can be prohibitive in terms of them receiving a signal.
That's true.
You see, so another aspect would be the city providing that, because all new housing is hardwired.
Right.
All new housing is hardwired. You know, they've got the ether cable and everything in there, or you can do it wireless. So if there is another aspect to that program, I think it should be with regard to public housing, where the people in public housing can get connectivity.
Yeah, this is why the Wi-Fi discussion is so important, because, you know, in the developing world, in Africa, in Asia, you know, in other countries, people are running whole businesses from a phone.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, farmers
Right,
are
that's
bringing
right.
goods to
Right.
market and getting better prices.
And solar
because they're able,
solar powered units at
exactly.
that.
People are figuring, you know, I think the developing world has a lot to teach us. You know, so often I feel like we keep waiting for the perfect things, you know, to line up, when in fact, all around us are some tools we could start using now. So, you know, I'm a big believer in public Wi-Fi. You know, Philadelphia's doing it. New York's kind of pushing it. Like, you know, we need to get that out there, because that's an immediate, you know, that provides immediate connectivity. And for our young people, given the pricing, you know, I don't know if you looked at your phone bill lately, but I got 4 people on mine, and I'm always saying to myself, boy, you got to have a job, you know, to have 4 phones in your house. So the idea that you can connect to a free Wi-Fi service and be able to access things, I think is important. And then we are in the era of the cloud. So the device becomes less important, right? Whether I'm at my computer at home or at work or on my handheld, I can now access the things I need to be productive. So it gets back to teaching young people the thicker kind of engagement with this technology.
All
How
right,
are you
gentlemen,
using
we're
this?
going to bring on a young person who was tardy, but he's here now. But just run the piece on Jusani, and we'll come right back at you. We'll get Jusani on the set here. All right, Jusani?
Greetings. I am Jusani Morris, the 12-year-old former president of the National Action Network, Youth Move. This organization has helped me to strive to be a better leader, mentor, and educator to my peers. It has also given me the information I need to both voice my opinion and to aspire to be my dream profession, a lawyer. The Huddle and Youth Move are essential to the growth of both children and adults across the region. From this organization has sprung many important leaders. There is one thing I fail to understand. If the future of the country, your country, our country, is in my hands, why would you set it up to fail? Why would you create a corrupt system to disempower the leaders of tomorrow? So I advise you, rethink your foolish actions, and do not cease the National Action Network Youth Huddle. The Huddle provides us with not physical health, but emotional, spiritual, and mental health. So make your move. Either ruin the future of America, or elevate, educate, and evolve the generation of tomorrow. So have a great day, and consider the smartest move you can make.
Thoughts? Excellent. 2 minutes, huh, Jusani? You have to go there. That's all right. Any thoughts?
Wait, this is the kind of speech that I think you touch.
What's up?
This is about how it grows, how they define that.
Well, that's the next session. We only focusing on 4 points. Jusani is, you know, low offense. But no, this was a great speech, and I wanted to show you an example of a great speech. He was poised. He did exactly what was asked of him. He gave his name, his age, and he stayed within the 2 minutes. Those were the only 3 things that was asked of him. He stayed on topic. He answered the question. He gave a personal story. He told us a joke. Did you? No. I think you can be a little more funny next time. That was great. It was wonderful.
And as you see, that's what we call that. That's a NAN Youth Huddle, a typical Monday night. And Dominique gave you guys the challenge of, gave you 5-10 minutes to give a speech with these points in it, and you hit a home run there. He's the president of the NAN Youth. And we were just talking about the digital divide and what we need to provide from these for youngsters like yourself. You have the chairman of the board of the new Boys and Girls Club. Of course, you know Lord, and this is my partner, Graham Weatherspoon, who you know.
Right.
So welcome back.
Thank you.
A little tardy, but you're here.
Yeah.
All right.
Traffic.
So what you think? Traffic. Okay. What'd you think about Monday night?
Well, I felt like it was a really productive program because something that's plaguing our community is actually literacy.
Right.
And a lot of people are, as I was watching, we were talking about how digital devices can be a distraction instead of an education tool. And I think that also sets back literacy a bit because instead of maybe reading a book, they would be on Facebook or Snapchat or Instagram or something like that. And I feel like that ruins our next generation because as the generations go on, they get more, how do you say it? They get more like stuck in the technology and don't focus as much outside of it. And that's a huge problem.
How do we get you guys to stop looking down and working on your phone?
Discipline.
Okay. Whoa. That's a good one. Well, your mother. Matter of fact, she's going to get on you about what you promised to mentor Jusani. So, Jusani, did you hear any of what we were talking about?
Yes, I did.
Okay. What do you think?
I heard a lot about the school systems.
Okay.
I've been here for maybe about 18 minutes. So
okay. You have?
Good amount, yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize you were here then. Okay.
Yeah,
I have a question, because I think Jusani raises an important point about literacy. You know, and the stat is, 10 to 11 million Americans, can't read. And a lot of our young people, and I see them, I work in the justice system, and I see kids, young people, young adults who are 18, 19 years old, who have a hard time completing a job application. And that always gets us thinking like, wow, what was going on for this young person when he or she was, 10, 11, or 12 years old. So I wondered, what you thought about the, technology. Like, I thought it was great that you raised the idea of a book. Like, I read books on my phone. And I wonder if there's a way to get young people to see, when they're looking down, actually be looking at something a little more, maybe important for them that they, that they can do with the phone, because the phone's a powerful tool.
Right. Well, I think that's a very good idea, but there are numerous problems with it. The fact is that although they might start out and look at that book for 15 minutes on the phone, then they get a temptation to go to something else.
Of course.
And then it ends up not being productive because they're on Instagram. After 15 minutes of reading, they're on Instagram for the rest of the day.
Yeah. So this is what you do if your mother's not on your case?
So what there is on my computer, she hasn't given me a phone yet. So what there is on my computer is that there's an app called Self-Control. And it's an app that you can time, and you can't go access anything that's not 100 websites that are like key for learning for school.
Okay.
You can't access anything outside of that.
Oh, fantastic.
And that's what I put on the entire day, 24 hours.
Okay. Oh, wow. That's interesting.
So I think this is raising an
15.
interesting point about how can we create the learning process to help young people use technology appropriately, right? So this app sounds wonderful, right? It's almost like it's not just that he's doing his homework in a certain way. It's training for the future. It's teaching you the discipline of, a time, and there's certain places I have to go to get information and be able to use to do my homework. And there's another way to use technology when you're just having fun, but at that time, having a tool that actually helps you and helps a parent, to say, I know that my kid, when he or she is at home in front of their machine at this time, this is turned on and they're working on their work. You know, those kinds of innovations are the kinds of things that, you know, I think we should be thinking about in terms of creating equity in how our young people, you know, are accessing technology and using it for their betterment.
I think that's an excellent point. And one of the institutions that are supposed to be training our young children on the use of the computer and also placing those filters in the learning environment are our schools.
Right.
And unfortunately, many of our schools don't have the technology to be able to train young folks. Now, he's very lucky because there are not many kids that his age that really have a computer at home.
Or have parents that
Or
get
have a
stay on his
parent.
kids.
Exactly. The substantial majority in very low-income communities have no such technology, and so that's one issue. But the learning in terms of the proper use of using this very powerful tool, and what are the appropriate things that you need to be doing to build your future.
Right.
Is something that our school's supposed to be teaching them. And then when the child come home having that technology, that's where the parents are supposed to also help out. Now, the wonderful thing about technology is that say if a parent is working, or if a kid is like this young man right here,
Right.
there's automated learning, touchscreen. So if you want to learn science or math, or if you want to learn language arts or whatever, a lot of this learning technology is touchscreen or speak screen. So as an example, I'm a student, I'm in a class, I'm not doing that well. The teacher gives me an assignment. Everything on the computer is aligned to curriculum. So when my computer that I take home, or if I have a computer at home, I'm able to tap into the portal, and I'm able to now get the remediation that my teacher wasn't able to give me in the classroom because it's 30 students. So at 30 students, if you've got 15 of those students that are slow learners, there's no progress in that classroom, and all the other kids suffer, right? So you augment that by the installation of what they call speak and learn technology, automated systems where you can either speak or touch. And so if you have a math problem, it will give you the remediation that you would normally get from a teacher.
Khan Academy.
And a very animated and fun way.
What was
Khan
that?
Academy,
Khan Academy.
K-H-A-N.
Yeah, Khan Academy. That's one example.
He started a program for his niece, I believe it was, in, I think it was math. And then he realized that he could tutor her and other children. And now Khan Academy is not just math, it's science, it's English, it's calculus, physics.
He's all over
Really?
the place.
And you can literally, everybody, each one of us can go to Khan Academy and start taking a class. Grown people who didn't finish school,
Yeah, I wanna
you can
know.
take geometry, algebra, trigonometry. You can sit down and go at your own pace through Khan Academy with all the classes.
How do you get to this Khan Academy?
It's
Just research Khan
khanacademy.org, I think it
Just-
is. Yeah,
just
Khan
do what?
Academy.
Give them again. Tell them again.
Okay, so it's khanacademy.org. But
Khan
the
Academy,
one
okay.
catch is that they make it like, I know a lot of my peers are very interested in the fact that there are avatars in the game. And I laugh at them all the time because I'm like, that's not the real purpose. But I guess it makes it fun for them. And I feel like if you can get kids to learn because it's fun for them, I think that's a way that you can really affect the change.
Okay.
So, and that's very important. That's a very important point because what a lot of our urban school systems lack when they have technology, people at the DOE purchasing this technology that oftentimes, I mean, I hate to say it, but they don't look like us that's making these decisions, and they're infiltrating our school with technology, and it's really not adequate for the environment. So if there was some type of auditing process in place that will determine exactly what those schools need, so it's retrofitted for the needs of the students and the school, that would be different, but unfortunately that doesn't happen. So when you can take integrated learning, you can tie it to curriculum and make it fun. And so when the kid come home, he can't wait or she can't wait to get on there and then go back to school the next day to say, Mr. Gilchrist, I know the answer.
All right, you know what we're trying to do here, Jusani? We're trying to get a computer and internet access to all the kids in, say, our district. every kid at NAN can take a computer home and be able to go on the internet for 3 years. Now, Lord has a program where we can get that done. Now, how many kids would that make happy if you had a computer to take home after school?
A lot of kids.
A lot of
Because the school system, as was mentioned before, doesn't provide that in every case. And it's a very rare case that it happens, let alone in our community.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm lucky enough to be able to go to a private school that actually does provide computers. But then I look at my friends, and then, or my just peers in general,
Right.
and then I see them so far behind me, not in skill or anything like that, but in the equipment that they're given. And it makes me feel pretty sad for our next generation because they're not given the tools that they need to
Because they don't
succeed.
have the advantages that you have,
Right.
but you're going to private school.
Right.
And your parents are paying a pretty penny for that too,
Yeah.
right? So now we uptown can't afford that. So Lord is coming in to fill in. We just pray to Lord. Oh my God.
Now, you don't have a phone either.
Well, you know.
So but really, that gives him a big jump.
Mm-hmm.
Because he doesn't have that distraction.
Okay.
You know, his phone is not bink,
Right,
bink,
right.
bink. You know, he's not getting the communications, the unnecessary communications. When you sit down to using that app, you said, that timed app.
Just self-control.
See, because when you're using your phone, if someone sends you something on Facebook or whatever it is and it
You still
chimes
see it.
in, you see it.
And then you get tempted.
And it's a distraction.
Right.
Yeah.
See, so when you're focused on the computer, you're focused. There's nothing to disturb you. You don't have a phone to put away somewhere, or you can put on, like my phone is vibrating while I'm sitting here. You know, people are trying to call me on business. I can't answer them now because they're not the priority. This is the priority. So it's the same thing for our young people. Sometimes connectivity is a problem. Texting, I talked with a young girl, she had been up till 4 o'clock in the morning texting. I said, you gotta be kidding me. Verbal conversation, oratory is important. You can't read a person doing texting.
That's true.
All right, and they don't text using the English language.
That's right.
It's abbreviated. So your skills in the written are greatly diminished. You know, I see a lot of students, they can't put together a sentence, even on the college level. And it's disheartening because I'm wondering, how did they get out of high school and they don't know basic English, sentence structure? And all of the abbreviations in texting are killing our kids. They know how to text, but they cannot write a sentence. And many of them cannot write cursive writing. That's another problem.
We don't teach it in schools anymore.
That's a problem. I'm
They don't
old
teach
school.
script in school?
But you need to know how
They
to
do
write the
teach it.
script
I'm
and
not
sign
good
your
at it,
name.
but I
A lot
know
of
it.
kids do not know how to sign their names. They can only print their
I know how
name.
to do it, but it's sloppy.
You bring up a very important point, and so did you in terms of the phone.
But here we have a 12-year-old who doesn't know script and a genius at that.
Yeah. But you know, to be fair, maybe a little contrarian to that, right? Because we're of a certain men of a certain age.
Yeah, we're old.
Right? The kind of changes in the economy and the changes in technology are affecting the communal life, the education system, families. These are disruptive technologies, and they're very much like the disruptive technologies of the past, television, the phone, right? So these technologies are out of the box already, right? I think what's interesting.
You have to know how to sign your name.
You have to. Well, you have to know. Now
All
you
I know is
have
those 6
digital
letters.
signatures, right? So we're at a point now where what young people are learning is how to interface with this new age. I actually think, like, my kids sit and they'll have Facebook up and Snapchat and do their home. You know, I have 2 kids. You know, one went to Columbia, the other's in college now, and I'm telling you, I cannot figure out how they are able to function, but they are able to function.
They're able to function.
We've got to get kids. They've got to learn in school. They've got to learn how to read. They've got to learn how to do homework. I applaud Jusani's mom and family for making it possible for him to learn the discipline of here's how they're not running to give him a phone, but he's going to get one eventually.
Right.
And he's going to be confronted with how to do that. So these young people are learning how to do things that for us just looks crazy, right? But this is a world that you know, the world that we're in. So I want us to remember that
Yes, sure.
you know, if
Absolutely.
the argument is we need to roll back some of this stuff, I think it's hard, you know, that's going to be impossible to do. I think it's how do we move forward and help young people to learn how to use this technology, how to be good learners with the technology and use it in a thicker way, as I've said before. That gets to the equity piece for me,
And
which
I
is our kids getting good sound education and good technology education.
I think you hit it right on the head, but here's the missing piece. So we have, as I said, we have a national movement for computer science for all, right? Because we want programmers and we want our kids growing up to be able to move into the high-tech field because we're the jobs of the future. And the mayor has rolled out as a requirement before you can graduate, as a condition of graduation, computer science, right? Technology, IT skills, right? But they've put these programs in place, but they haven't put the technology in place for the kids to use. Not only is it not in our schools, but for the very low-income population, and even for some middle-income population, we don't have it. But one word on the phone. The phone, I try to caution everybody, not about what you're talking about, because what you're saying is absolutely correct. But the phone is not really ideal for education. The reason why it's not is because you will burn up your data plan. So if you've got...
Because you got free Wi-Fi.
Right. Now,
Which a lot of the universities have for students, but not a lot of public schools.
Right. So for those kids, until we can put a program together where there's free Wi-Fi, right? Now you have free Wi-Fi in Harlem from 96th to 135th Street, and then you have these gaps all around, right? So we got to close these gaps for everybody. Otherwise, the kids down there will have access, the kids up here don't, right? So we've got to figure out a way to do this for everybody, right? But for those kids, until we close it for everybody, the ones that use their phone, they've just burnt up their $50 monthly plan in less than a half hour. Yeah. And so that's not a viable option. And a lot of people, and particularly those that think that the phone could be
we have
some
30
kind of...
seconds left.
Okay. Oh, man, boy, I tell you.
I mean, when you're having fun. You know, we're going to do this again. And with that, thank you, gentlemen. It's been an education for me. And again, on the Gilchrist experience, the God in me loves the God in you. And we're going to try to put a sort of a chicken in every pot, a computer in every home. Right?
That's right.
Peace go with you. Power to the people. God bless. Thank you for coming.
That's awesome.
All right.
What you said.
Remember,